three things as a way of increasing your cash flow without actually having to buy a business. So you don't have to invest any money in this business. All you have to do is give the lead to get the percentage. So how do you get rewarded? How do you get compensated? Well, you could actually take a commission from both sides. Three things that you could be doing as a way of increasing your cash flow without actually having to buy a business. So take your notepads, and I'll take you through these three methods. The first is something that's very popular in the property world, and I believe that it's something that you should be doing in the world of mergers and acquisitions. And that is to become a deal sourcer. Now, when you send out your letters, get your responses, there's going to be lots that just are not of interest to you. True? In fact, actually, the majority won't be of interest to you. So I think that you should be selling those deals to other people. Just because it's not right for you, it could be very right for the person that you're sitting next to. So I think you should be selling those deals. So how do you do this? Well, you need a contract. I think you can do it on a handshake, but I'd prefer you to have a very simple contract. And you need to sell it on the basis that that person only pays for you when they complete on the deal, so they can pay it out of the business that they've bought. Because what you don't want to be doing, and I would stop anyone from doing this, and I'd massively, actively discourage you from selling these, like here are 10 estate agents who are interested. Well, there's going to be a lot of trust there, and if they're going to pay you money for these 10 estate agents that are interested, are they really interested? Or was it just a passing inquiry phone call? So you'll create far more trust and get a far better result if you say, only pay me when one of those deals closes. Okay? So the big question in your mind is how much? How much is the right number? Well, I think it should be at least £5,000. At least. Because that person wants to buy a business, you provided them with a lead, they've bought the business. Well, £5,000 is nothing to have that result in the bag. It really isn't. I actually think with the larger ones, and you may say larger is over 1 million of revenue, possibly, I think £10,000. If you think of it like this, if you're buying a business, the legal fees of a deal that's a couple of million of revenue are going to be more than £10,000. Now, it's not your concern because you're paying it out of the business that you're buying, but the legal fees will. So you could consider this as a similar professional fee because you've invested in the letters, you've gone out there, you've spoken to people, and you've said, look, I don't think this is right for me. This isn't something that's going to work for me. However, I know someone else that it might work for. Would you be okay if I passed across your details? Now, I think there's a whole scripting around this so that you don't sort of scare the person from into saying, actually, no, I don't know who you're passing it to. So there's got to be some trust built up there. Now, with the really big ones, you might want to go for, I've got someone who's interested in selling. I think you might be the right buyer. However, I don't want anything for it. All I want is 1% of the equity, or 2%, or 3%. But I'm talking about a small slice, very, very small slice. It kind of, this tiny little slice that sits there, which means that you get 1, 2, 3% of the dividends when they are voted, whether it's annually, quarterly, monthly. And then, if and when that business sells, you get 1, 2, 3%. Now, again, if you read the Richard Farley book, on many occasions, like, do you remember Net-a-Porter? He was a very early stage investor in that and had a very small slice, but it sold for 500 million. So you don't have to invest any money in this business. All you have to do is give the lead to get the percentage. So that's the first thing I think you should be doing. Become a deal sourcer.
If you want to find out how to buy a business successfully, get your free business buying toolkit. The link is in the video description below.
The second thing, it's not going to be applicable for all of you. But if you are the sort of individual that people find inspiring, motivating, your people come to you with their problems, and you're very good at sorting out problems and saying, look, it's not a big deal. All you have to do is this, this, and this. Keep yourself focused. It's not, because often when you're in a situation, it feels bigger than it really is. And you need someone from the outside to tell you, look, you're concerned about this, But in the scheme of things, that isn't really something to be worrying about, because here is an outcome that you should be focusing on. So your second income generator as someone in the world of M&A could be to become an M&A coach. Now, there is a big difference between a coach and a mentor. So a mentor is someone who's been there before you, done it, got the t-shirt, and can share their experiences. That's not what we're talking about here, because not many of you are currently in that position, because this is kind of the beginning of the journey. But you can be a coach to someone else. You can be that critical friend who is going to listen and feed back. And I do this with a lot of people, but I realize that they're holding themselves back. I was actually helping a friend who'd got himself into a little bit of a money problem. And I was helping him through the options. And he was doing effectively all the work by telling me what the options were. But he'd never actually written them down on a piece of paper and looked at them in black and white and said, these are the options. Now, you need to develop some coaching skills. I sold a business 18 years ago called the Coaching Academy. If you look online, it's still there. It's been going for 25 years now, Coaching Academy. And we trained people in coaching skills all around the world. We were, at that time, the largest in the world. And we did events like this every weekend for 200 people plus. Okay, so it was very, very popular. So I know a lot about coaching, a lot about coaching skills. But if you want to develop those skills, then I think that could be, and by the way, but I think that a coaching session should be about 40 minutes, and you should be charging a minimum of £150. And let's say you had 6 people that you were coaching, and you did that once a month, which is probably almost too much of a gap. I think it should be like once every 3 weeks. But let's say once a month, and you do all those 6 people in one day, that's like a £900 day. Now, I know, you're a professional coach. You charge a lot more than that, don't you? Yeah, like a lot more than that. And the third thing that I think you could do is you become, and hear me out when you hear this word, I'm going to say broker. I'm going to put 2 words in front of it. A joint venture broker. You're going to be talking to businesses all the time. And sometimes there is an option that is an alternative to selling the business, which is to joint venture, and it was mentioned by someone on this table as well earlier on, joint venture with another business. So let's say we have Josh with his dry cleaning laundry business, and he's at a crossroads, at a quandary, which he is at the moment. And you say, well, look, possibly the solution to this is a joint venture with another company. And maybe the joint venture is with, for example, a commercial laundry that has overflow work, that they can't do it all, and they can't meet the time, and they might lose a contract because they can't get the work done by a certain time, and they give all their overflow work to you. Maybe the joint venture is to go to a dozen companies like that and say, we will be your overflow facility to do all the things that you can't do. We'll work to help you meet your deadlines. So you become a broker for the joint venture by bringing the parties together. So how do you get rewarded? How do you get compensated? Well, you could actually take a commission from both sides. And the commission from both sides is how much it's worth to each side. So you maybe set up a structure, let's say it's 10%, and Josh receives an extra £10,000 that month from the joint ventures. So that means 1,000 comes over to you. There's a value to the other side as well. That comes over to you. So you can get paid effectively twice on the same deal. So I think that all 3 of those things you should consider as options, as opportunities for you, because you don't actually have to buy a business to do any of those things. It can run alongside the business buying, but I'd also say it's a great way to get you talking to more businesses, having conversations, helping other business owners. And here's a little secret about coaching. When you help other people, you help yourself. When you realize that solving other people's problems can be as straightforward as actually getting them onto a list, prioritizing the list, and motivating someone to take action on the first thing on their list, you think, why am I not doing that? So those are my 3 ways to do this.